Welcome to the show. I'm Andy Cole. I'm your host. Let's write a song. This is it's a show where we talk to people, cool people, nice people. We learn about them and then we write a song together. That's the fun of it. You kind of will get to know the person during the conversation, and the whole time you can kind of think like, what kind of song is going to come from them based on, it could be what they're talking about, their opinions, their personalities, and also when they've got only this short amount of time to create one, because seriously, that's how we do it. We talk, I turn the mics off, we keep the room mic on, and then we just immediately start writing the song. Sometimes there's a smoke break, guest permitting. A real quick introduction for myself. I've played music most of my life. I started on guitar when I was 12. Thank you, Mom and Dad. I can still remember the first song I ever wrote for real. And no, I'm not going to share it with you. It wasn't a surprise. A 12-year-old didn't write a good song. I've been in many bands in my life. I'm currently involved in a number of bands and some musical projects. Stuff I'll let you know more about as the season goes on. We can get to know each other. You can find some music out there under the name Eagle Lake Owls. That was my band for a number of years. My current band is called Great Wealth. I'm also a broadcaster. I worked in radio for around a decade all over Canada in towns and cities, big and small. That's how I know just the proper distance to be from this microphone when you want to lean in and have a lot of presence and maybe a bit of that NPR vibe. And hopefully you don't spit too much air into the microphone. I started this show because I love songwriting. It's the most natural way that I find I can express myself. And I thought it would be fun to get people here to do it in the moment and give listeners like a peek in to the process. And then I thought it would be a lot of fun to put non-songwriting people through that same process and see what we come up with. The show is recorded here in my one-bedroom West Broadway apartment in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I keep the windows open in my apartment for most of the year, so occasionally the outside world is going to bleed in while me and the guest are talking. You'll just kind of hear that. That's all just part of it. It's part of the atmosphere. I'd also like to acknowledge I am living on and producing this podcast from Treaty 1 territory. If you want to know more about that, please visit trcm.ca to learn more. There's a lot to learn. It is an important thing to learn about. So how the show is going to work is it's going to come out in like a season format, but since we're writing songs, we can think of it as albums. So this episode is the first track of album 1. I'm aiming for around 10 for this first season / album. And then we'll take a short break at the end of it, a few weeks, and then the sophomore release will come. The follow-up album. It's always harder. When it came time to choose this first episode, because I had a few already recorded by premiere time, I went with this one. I did with Matt Moskal. Matt's a dear friend of mine. He's a podcaster. He's a songwriter also. He writes beautiful music, I should say. And we've been on tour together in a truck. When I needed someone to fill in on bass with my old band when we were going to a few different provinces, he came along willingly just for the experience. He's a guy his creativity just bursts out in many directions. He seems to be good at all these artistic things that he tries. And he's also a really sweet person and a very genuine person and very kind-hearted. And I think that comes through in the interview. Matt used to live here in Winnipeg. He's moved back to his old stomping grounds in Ontario, but he was in town this summer for Winnipeg Folk Fest. And when I knew he was coming to town, I insisted he come on the show because I knew something good would come of it. When you hear our conversation and when you hear the song we came up with, I think you'll understand why I thought that. So here is the first episode of the show and the first track of this album. Our conversation and our song with Matt Moskal.
Anyone walks around with a song in their head at any time. Our life is so ripe for a soundtrack. I mean, what is your music collection? But like all the songs that would be on the soundtrack of your life in some way, shape, or form.
I believe music is the soundtrack of our lives.
Yeah, man. Somebody write that down. That needs to be something. But
put my name at the end of it too, please. That was mine.
yeah, it's like the Office thing. The like you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
Yeah.
It's like the only thing I know from The Office. Like,
Yeah. Do you did you watch The Office?
no.
See, I'm not. I saw a handful of episodes. I saw the old British one, and I remember liking it.
Yeah.
But I feel like that is a new phenomenon that we get to have in this era where we have absorbed a lot of the culture of a show
Yeah.
just through memes.
Oh yeah.
Like that. Like, I know that joke.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great joke. I didn't even have to see the scene to think that joke was funny.
Precisely.
Because I've seen the meme, and like I feel like there's just things I'm absorbing that way where sometimes I'm like, oh, now I don't have to watch that.
Right.
Like, do you have anything like that where you've absorbed enough of it just just via osmosis? Where it's like, I think I get it, and I don't know if I need to engage with it or not.
That was happening with RuPaul's Drag Race recently, where actually the opposite of that, I should say. People were giving me all these like quotes from it and all these clips and all these very specific terminology and lingo. And then within watching like a season, you just start to pick up all the language that people use, and I found myself like yelling at the TV in, all kinds of lingo and terminology that I didn't understand before. Like I see a very feminine looking queen walking down the ramp, and I'm like, oh, she's so fishy. Like, which
I don't even know that one.
Oh, it's a reference
bad?
to how naturally feminine drag queen looks, from what I understand, I should say. So if someone looks like they have a vagina, they look fishy.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some some of the language is very gross, but some of it is
it's a little graphic.
Yeah, like, but I like spill the tea, the tea.
Oh, is that from that?
Yeah, so that's
okay.
So spilling the tea is like spilling the truth. The tea is the short for the truth. The tea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then
I always wondered what that was.
Yeah.
I thought it was a reference to reading tea leaves, but that's
that's also a good one.
I am.
That's but that's I feel like it's up for that interpretation though, because that's exactly something that. Like, I think with online culture, we are a little bit more new agey nowadays. Like, I feel like I follow a lot of witches on Twitter.
What's witch Twitter like?
Witch Twitter is basically it's like a Venn diagram of punk Twitter meets queer Twitter meets and I don't want to say social justice Twitter, but it's just like people who are just so open and out there and so accepting of everyone, right, but just so goddamn mean to the people and the things that they hate. I love it. Like, it's the savagery that goes into just like ripping into somebody that you don't like, but then just like the openness and acceptance and like the love of people.
I'm curious about witch Twitter though. Like, who are the enemies of witch Twitter that you're talking about? Like the people that they'll be savage going after, like, is it like religion coming after them, like super conservative people who taking the witchcraft angle of it too seriously? Do you know what I mean? Like, like the way the Church of Satan, Satanists are not like Satanists.
Yeah, it's I would that is exactly what I would put it the closest to. Again, they're gonna come after me. No, they won't. But
no, we're not attacking witches at all.
I just from what
dead serious about, like, I want to know who the enemies are in this.
It's always felt like anything that's anti-environmental, because I think a lot of what's witchy to me is very very of the earth, is very very cognizant of things like astronomy and things like just very very pure natural things. It very much like overlaps with queer culture as well. So anything that is closed-minded in terms of anything homophobic, and obviously there's a huge women's rights or female identifying rights angle to all of it, where anything that is anti-feminist or anything that is just discriminatory towards anyone, homophobic or anything like that, is pretty much the enemy of like which. So Trump, like, again,
basically,
Lana Del Rey and all these people wanted to put a curse on Trump for for being Trump. So Not that we need to drop the T word.
It's so interesting that there's just one gigantic villain in life right now.
I
Like
know.
it was no one is ambivalent about this guy. You hate him,
Yeah.
or you love him.
Do you ever feel like your comedic sensibilities, like, because you consume a lot more comedy than I do, but I used to go pretty hard into the comedy myself, and I still follow a lot of comedians on Twitter and Instagram and everything. But like from a comic standpoint, like it's kind of exhausting having one person be the butt end of every joke, like week after week after week.
I like people who can point that out and sort of frame that just this like existential mess that we're in right now, where like you were super cognizant of what's going on and you can't get away from it. And if you can at least laugh at the fact that we have to pay attention to it and not necessarily have to highlight what it is we're paying attention to.
And I think you nailed it right there. Like I find that I'm learning more about individual issues than I am about whatever he wants to talk about that week. Like whatever he says it just seems like such a distraction. Like for example, like recently everyone's been all the, you know, the whole thing with the migrant camps.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, it's like, okay, I'm going to go make a Memorial Day speech where I say that there were airports during, you know, a war where I don't remember what war he even said. I'm trying not to pay attention.
He was talking about the Revolutionary War.
Talking about the Revolutionary War, saying that airports are being taken over.
Yeah.
So that's such a distraction from, you know, the migrant camp thing. It's like literally like watching somebody who just signed an executive order to have all the puppies in the country killed, and he's trying to distract you by slipping on a fucking banana peel. Like, by doing like vaudeville.
He's a master at it. And I think I
would
think
say idiot savant.
Yes, well, that's the thing. I think he doesn't deserve like extreme credit for it, because I think he doesn't realize what he's doing a lot of time. I think he just instinctually know. Like if you're a bullshit artist, you will. It sounds like I pounded the table when I said bullshit. That was just bullshit. For the listener, that was Matt. He accidentally bumped the stand. That's totally fine. But yeah, when you're I'll do it again. I don't care. If you're a bullshit artist, your whole game is distracting people from your bullshit. And if you're someone like him who's self-absorbed and you have no social skills whatsoever, it's more instinctuul. He's not a calculating person. He has great instincts. He gets it. He gets when it's important enough. And and we're in a moment now where, I mean, we're in Canada, but I think it extends here in a bit. No one's changing their political views, I don't think, right now, for the most part. I think everybody's where they are. If you like the guy, he can't do anything wrong. If you don't like him, he can't do anything right. And we just have to wait it out. The rest of the world has to wait out this clown show going on in the United States.
Yeah.
And
that sentiment right there, that if you like this, it can do no wrong. If you don't like it, then you're just going to hate everything about it. That's the mental gymnastics people are doing nowadays. Like, I find myself reading headlines and trying to, and I ask myself a lot, like, am I angry about this because everybody else is angry about this, or am I angry about this because this is genuinely something that pisses me off?
Yeah.
Every once in a while, something creeps in there where I'm just like, this is upsetting, but this is either a distraction or, and just like the speech we were talking about, this is a distraction, or this is something that is clearly trying to draw our attention away from something else. You ever see one of those like TED Talks where they show you two colors and then you look at the two colors combined and it kind of messes with your head a bit? Like things like that, or when you put your hand in warm water and then cold water, and then you put it in like room temperature water. It's like one of those things where your brain sort of adjusts to the temperature or the shade or the color that you've just experienced, and then sort of for some reason applies certain things that it experienced previously onto that next experience. Yeah. It sets the temperature of the room, and then it's like, oh, maybe it did cool down in here a little bit, even though it's the most like tepid news possible, or that kind of thing.
Well, you're describing gaslighting.
Yeah.
Which is just telling people what they think.
Welcome to Gaslighting with Andy Cole.
That's where the show is going.
Yeah.
That's what the show has always been, actually.
What is music but gaslighting your audience into thinking that you're a relatable or charming person?
Music is the gaslighting of our lives.
Cut that
out. I do. I want to say there's I'm very happy you're here.
Okay.
People should know this. Matt is a good friend. You're a very creative guy. You don't live in Winnipeg anymore, but you're coming back here for Folk Fest and to visit some people. So I'm very happy that I got you here. And a big reason I wanted you as a guest here as well, from being very creative. You're just a very engaging person. You're a great storyteller. You've had podcasts in the past, and you're going to be reviving.
I'm hoping to revive my old one, but I'm doing it at a pace where it's like I do want to do what you're doing here and have a few in the can first, and like and I want to start off with a big first guest and really put out the idea that like the shop is open again. Mm-hmm. I don't want it to be a soft relaunch. I want it to happen at a point where I've developed a rhythm in the community that I'm living in.
Right, because you are now in
London, Ontario.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Ooh.
London people. Keep an eye out for. Is this still going to be a supporting act?
It's probably going to be the supporting act. I just love that name.
It's a great name for a show.
I can't stop making things. I just have to actually sit down and finish them.
Right. That is a tough thing, though. I had it was a year ago. I started putting this together.
Yeah.
And then I realized there was a bunch of gear that I didn't have that I needed.
Yeah.
You know, everything is slower than you think it's going to be. I have certain creative projects right now that were a big deal 2 years ago, and still haven't seen the light of day.
I think this has been happening with me professionally. This is a great source of anxiety in my life, but like that feeling of maybe even 5 years ago, I would have gotten so bent out of shape if I had like a song in my notebook that I couldn't finish, or if I had an idea for a joke or something that I couldn't finish, and I'd feel like such a fraud and like a failure. And then, you know, professionally, artistically, however, you get to a certain point, and then if you have to go backwards at any point in time, that doesn't mean that, you know, when you're ready to get back on the horse, that you can't reassess and think of all the things that you would do differently, because you still have so much time to do things differently. Like, just like how we've been talking about how politics makes every single day right now feel like it's being like marked on your calendar for one horrific happening or some stupid thing that was said that people are twisting or bending. The life cycle of a meme online right now is like in 24 hours we're over something right now. Like that guy, his wife falling off the cliff.
Oh my God. I was about to ask you what your favorite meme is right now, because I wanted to talk about Cliff Wife. Thank you for bringing it up. Cliff Wife is my number one favorite meme of the last year at least. It was in 24 hours. It came. It attained perfection.
Yeah.
It was processed. Yeah. Everyone dealt with it, and it was gone. And no one talks about it anymore. Cliff Wife was. Do you want to describe it for the listener, please?
I still don't even know what Cliff Wife was.
Well,
he was like a travel blogger, right?
Yeah, it's like it's this married couple, and they go all over the place, and they're just like travel and life bloggers.
Right.
And they were, I don't even remember where they were, but they were hiking somewhere. It was jungly. It was near an ocean, I believe. And it might have been Hawaii or something.
Okay.
And they're hiking, and they were kind of on like a dirt trail that had like a not incredibly steep grade along the side of it.
Yeah. And
his wife slid off the trail and rolled down, and it was like dirt, and it was like still, you're like, oh my God, if that happened to my wife, I'd like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But it wasn't bad. And then she rolled down. She hurt her foot, I think. Like, she was fine.
But it sounds like the audio sounds like the end of the Blair Witch, basically.
Yeah,
like
and the guy is like just so dramatically talking about you know, and you realize that like life, everything in your life could be taken from you so quickly. Guys, never take life for granted. You know, tell the people you love that you love them. And it's like, okay, but at the same time,
I think I confused Cliff Wife with the helicopter rescue.
Oh yeah, no, that is not Cliff Wife.
Spinning around like crazy. Yeah, and then there was a local comedian, I think it was Corey Falvo, who posted it, and it was like every cankerworm in Winnipeg right now, and it was the person being rescued spinning around like crazy.
That's a great joke for those who are not from Winnipeg. We have these worms that come out of the trees every June, and they're terrible. And they hang on. They're like caterpillars, and they hang on these. They're like a spiderweb thread, but they're thicker, and they stick to you, and you can't get them off you. And these worms are everywhere. You get them stuck in your hair and on your clothes, like inevitably by walking outside.
Yeah.
So it's very funny that he compared that to the
Oh yeah. Oh exactly.
person.
Oh, I was
being
dying when I saw
dragged
that.
by a helicopter spinning around. Yeah, that I don't know what the name of that meme was called.
I don't know.
Spinning helicopter or something, but
It just killed me.
that was a good one.
Yeah, just the imagery where they're trying to tell this solemn. That's it. That's what gets me every time. It's like an attempt at like the solemn delivery of like a news story. The sketch, the Dana Carvey. Gerald Ford dead today, and he's just reading the more like elaborate ways that Gerald Ford has died. And well, is that really necessary? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel that's a good antidote to the times we're in right now.
Yeah.
You know, the screaming. This was a big thing in the 90s, I think, because things were so comparatively more dry back then.
Right.
The 90s had this like the angry too much coffee dude who would rant about news, right? You had like Dennis Leary and like Dennis Miller, the Dennises, you know what I mean? Leary and Miller.
Lionel.
Lionel's still around. I like Lionel though. Lionel's like a different beast, I think. Like it was more like the cultural critiques, like the comedians.
Yeah.
The Dennises again, and even like Lewis Black was like this too, though I like him a little more. But it was this like angry, telling it like it is, and getting really worked up. And now it's like everyone's angry. We're all in that space. So I think if we were a little more sober,
like I said earlier, like I do that with the media I consume that I don't want to say agree with, because media is supposed to be a mirror held up to society. That's what my college teachers told me.
That's quaint.
Yeah, it's lovely, right? The quote we were given was a mirror held up to society to keep the system from breaking down.
Yeah.
And the problem is that you're holding up a mirror right now, and everyone who's standing in front of it is going, "I don't look that fat. What the fuck are you talking about?" This is a funhouse mirror.
I feel like there's this old media people have this idea that like it has to be this thing, and that's like in an ideal world, yes, but where you find that now is like on YouTube,
right,
where people are having to do it themselves.
One of my first big interviews that I ever had was with Stuart McLean, may he rest in peace. And I remember one of the big things he said like early on was like he started off as a journalist, and he talked about going to a newsroom and the editor would come out of their room, they'd be like tugging on a cigarette, and they'd just be like, "We got a story about oatmeal. Does anyone want to do a story about oatmeal?" And he's like, "That's how I cut my teeth." I was like, "I'll do a story about oatmeal."
Yeah.
Yeah, he's also Jimmy Stewart apparently in this impression.
He's well, you know what though? I think he's along those lines.
Yeah.
Like if
yeah.
He's just that type. I don't think there's anything wrong with slipping into a Jimmy Stewart when you're doing a Stuart McLean.
I think so.
Jimmy Stewart McLean. There's a new character.
Yeah, there we go. Jimmy Stewart McLean.
I don't know enough about Jimmy Stewart to do a reference.
Carlotta Valdez. She's climbing the tower, and he's chasing her up there just like a swift pair of legs, like a Swiffer sweeper on an old Canadian diner floor, and he's following up those steps, and he believes she's possessed of the spirit of a dead woman, a woman who died centuries ago, much like how the Canadian penny was phased out so many years back.
"I can't go up those stairs," Dave said. "I'll get vertigo."
I just watched that movie recently.
I know you like, you're a big fan of films.
I like movies, yeah.
You'll go on, something you do that I like is when you do like a bad movie month.
Yes.
Usually it's Nopevember.
November of 2019 will also be another Nopevember. There's no spoilers there. It's a self-preservation thing that I do every year.
Yeah. Where do you get, when you're going to binge on a bunch of bad movies?
Yeah.
How do you fill a month of that? Where are you pulling these references from?
Oh boy. Okay. So, usually I will find every like list I can find online of like the worst movies of all time. And I'll make like a little master list of like, okay, which ones can I find on Netflix? Which one can I find on this streaming app or that streaming app? Which one can I rent on YouTube? Which one can I find here? Yeah. I find that the stuff people recommend, sometimes they go really far out there. Like you and I watched The Skateboard Kid the one time, and I think that was recommended by like a dozen people, but it doesn't make any of those lists, or you have to specifically know.
Yeah,
anybody
it's
can
like an urban legend.
Yeah, exactly.
Videotape. Yeah,
yeah, that's what I love about it. Is like there's this little urban legend aspect to it. Like the other thing too is I'll find streaming apps like less popular, like streaming applications or less popular streaming services. And they'll just have a dump of all these like movies that, you know, they need to fill it, they need to pad out their numbers in the service or whatever. So there was one that was called like Tubi, and it had like all the Frank D'Angelo movies. Oh my God. Yeah, I watched
Sicilian Vampire.
I watched No Deposit. I have not watched Sicilian Vampire. Hopefully they're still on Tubi, but it's a Canadian streaming service, so it has that stuff on there. It has
I love that they're starting a service and they're like, hey, we don't have a lot of money to launch. What's cheap? Oh God, D'Angelo's got 10 disgusting, stupid movies with himself as the lead in it.
Exactly.
Fine,
yeah,
put him up.
All these like sort of like canon films and all that, and that's how I started to get into that. And no, I still haven't watched the documentary.
The Canon Films documentary.
Still have not watched it. I've watched more Canon Films though, which is
the Canon Films is a valuable resource if you like your movies real bad. And, but with the maximum amount of effort put in to make them try and be good, or at least be popular.
There's a reason that Over the Top is one of the movies I've rewatched the most out of like the Canon.
Oh yeah,
because there's stylistically that movie, it tells a story not very well, but it has just enough to keep me interested from start to finish.
Yeah, I own Over the Top. I have it on my computer right now. It's on my iTunes. I only own 3 movies on iTunes, and they're all movies that we've watched that are bad. But Over the Top is one of them. I forget the third, honestly. But it's Over the Top and Tango and Cash are both in there.
And is it Runaway?
Runaway.
Yeah.
Runaway with Tom Selleck, which is not a Canon film, but might as well be.
It might as well be.
It's just
with Gene Simmons. Have you watched? Is it Never Too Young to Die? I believe with like John Stamos and Gene Simmons.
Yeah. I did. I watched. I had it going. I was in and out. But I had it going, I think, while I was like playing a video game or something. So yeah, I've absorbed it.
It's an excellent bad movie.
Yeah.
I would put it up there as like the only thing I don't care for is after the fact, because Gene Simmons is legitimately very entertaining as the villain.
Yeah.
And the fact that he considers it an embarrassing point in his career to play a transvestite really made me so sad, because his portrayal of this character is so entertaining, and it's so devilish and so fun, and it's something that like I think a lot of people could sort of gravitate to. It's like, it's not like Frankenfurter, but it's very there's something about its extravagance and flamboyance that I think could inspire a lot of people who sort of, I don't want to say like see themselves in that character, but sort of see aspects of what makes that character entertaining and want to embody that in drag, or want to embody that in just in terms of anything, costuming, even writing subsequent, villains like later on, that kind of thing. And the fact that he considers it like embarrassing that he did that, when genuinely it is such a fun performance. He's campy. He's turned it up to 11.
Yeah.
And there's not a single moment he's on screen where I'm not entertained by him.
What I like by that too, about that role too, because it was the 80s, and it could have easily been played, and other movies did this, where the character is a cross-dresser.
Right.
To use the term of the time, I guess. And that was shorthand for this person is sick and there's something very wrong with them.
Right.
And you were supposed to feel horrified by seeing it. And that character is not played like that.
No.
The character was other disguises too in the movie.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's more just like, it's almost like this is how this person's, their personality and their being is manifesting themselves.
Yeah.
And they're a villain.
Yeah.
It's not, this person is insane and it's in evil, and it's manifesting itself in this sick, weird.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like even Silence of the Lambs dips into this a little bit, where it's just like, it's not used as a shorthand for. It's almost like just this. They had this idea for this character.
It's not a mental illness. It's like he's devious. I should say they're devious. They're brilliant. Everything that's going on with that character is something that is so comfortable in its own skin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Real quick, without having to think too much about it.
Yeah.
Best worst movie that you've seen that you recommend to people.
I think we're done talking about The Room as a culture. I don't think the conversation can go on anymore.
Speaking of things I've absorbed only through memes.
Yeah.
Never seen it. I don't think I need to.
You don't need to. No, it's we're at a point where we don't need to. It was a really cool thing that, the tape trade. It was kind of on the tail end of that, and like it was the last of sort of that. And the best worst movie, in my opinion, it's so tough to pick one.
You're having someone over,
and it's got to
be
your
short library
too.
there,
yeah,
right? Yeah, you want it to be fun. You sit them down, and you're like, you're gonna have fun with this,
yeah,
and it's terrible in a way you can enjoy.
Like something like Mac and Me is so good for that, because you can talk over it.
Yeah. Oh, you don't get. It's not
Yeah.
like you're going to miss something important.
Yeah, you're not gonna miss it, but you're gonna have so many moments where you want to rewind it and go back and watch the last like 5 minutes over again.
Yeah.
Or even like when we watched Skateboard Kid, like how many times did we rewatch those same couple of scenes over and over
Where,
again?
like the skateboard is coming back to life.
Wow, I'm back.
Dom DeLuise just.
Dom DeLuise is a talking skateboarder, something that must be seen to be
course it's-
believed.
Yeah. Great. That's a good place to start. I'm going to recommend. It's very hard to find. It does not exist digitally that I have ever been able to track down. But The Ultimate Thrill,
I'm
starring
looking for it still.
Eric Braeden and ex-wife of Rod Stewart, Britt Eklund, who I believe was also Bond girl in one movie.
I believe it. Yeah.
Eric Braeden kills a man with a helicopter. Not how you think. And he also kills someone with a pistol while in a hang glider.
That's
One more thing I want to talk about
yes.
is people who know you
Yeah.
know this, and people who don't know you should know this, that you're an aficionado of donuts.
I do love donuts.
You've done. We went on tour one time. You came on tour with me for my band. You filled in on bass. It was fun. And,
Yeah,
you hit donut places across Western Canada when we were out there.
Yeah.
And you continue pretty much wherever you go. You track down the best donuts.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. You can actually. You know what? Give me a bunch of cities.
Yeah.
Because it's a podcast. People can listen. Give me a
Yeah.
bunch of cities. Tell me a great donut you've had.
Like St. Catharines, I had just had Beechwood donuts for
Beechwood
the
is
first time. Beechwood was, I think it is the best donut I've had since I moved to Ontario.
Wow.
Hamilton, I really like Donut Monster. Granddad's Donuts. I don't know if you've been there in Hamilton.
No.
It seems like it's really up your alley. It's like you
Okay.
get like a good what is it, like a good like a good twist or a good bar, like an
Yeah.
almond crunch or something.
Nice.
It's got more of that. It looks like it's a gutted out Tim Hortons that's been repurposed, or an old like Robin's Donuts that's been repurposed.
Nice. I like it.
I love that there's two Hamilton Ontarios. There's the really arty, like, craft beer and artisanal side of it, and then there's like the everyone is still hungover from the Tiger Cats game the night before, and they just want the cheap thing they enjoyed as a kid. So that's the two sides of it. Donut Monster is excellent, very good donuts, and that would be more like the sort of donuts of that community, and then you have like Granddad's Donuts, and they're just these like. They're just the donuts you remember from when you were a kid. They're like the Robins, or the local kind of chain of the it's a one of a kind place if I'm not mistaken, but it just has a very old timey coffee shop feel to it.
Yeah, we had a great one when I was growing up in my town called Donuts 68.
Okay.
And I don't know why they were called that, but it was. I just remember going in there as a kid, and it's just like they just had so many different kinds of donuts. We were blown away, and it was those local. I like that that's coming back. I like a donut. Yeah. Where else is good?
I haven't done I guess I've been kind of betraying my donut sensibilities. London just got a place called Boxcar Donuts.
Okay.
I like them. They're one of those places where I love when you go to like a brewery or a bakery or any sort of restaurant, and you can, every time you go there, you feel like they're figuring it out more and more. Mm-hmm. So there's a little place called the Commonwealth Coffee Shop in London, Ontario. I'll recommend to people to check out. It's right across from the Grand Theatre, which is indeed haunted. So there's something about the energy there that I really like, and then Boxcar Donuts just kind of opened up, and the fact that they're selling out, because I have my issues with London, Ontario, feeling like a bunch of little islands where the community, to me, I'd like to feel like it's closer together, and maybe it's because I haven't lived there long enough, but it just sort of feels like everyone is a bit separated from each other. Like I sort of feel a lack of connective tissue there, but I love when something goes through just like grassroots marketing, like a new donut shop, and successfully sells out consistently. And seeing things like that to me is very inspiring. And that's kind of my motivation to moving to a place like Old East Village. Like literally one of the breweries we frequent is a co-op, and that's
cool.
Yeah. So it's a lot of like local farms and things like that, bringing in ingredients and a lot of collaborative experiments and things like that. And people can even like buy into the co-op if they're staffed there for long enough.
Oh, cool.
So so Boxcar for London, I think
I went there back in November.
The brewing co-op?
No, sorry, Boxcar is the donut place, right?
Yeah, they just opened up like in not November. They opened in like in the new year. They just opened.
Oh,
up.
did they? Okay,
Yeah.
I went to some because we were in London and we asked you where to go, and I think
Boombox Bakery is one of
Boombox.
them. Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah. Yeah, that place is still very much doing the cupcake thing, which was, from what I understand, the last sort of sweets trend before donuts became popular again.
Donuts are back.
Yeah.
Better than cupcakes. Come on.
They've been around for a while.
Yeah.
They and like I know Voodoo
never
Donuts
went
was,
away, man.
Yeah, they never went away, man. They really didn't though, and no.
To be serious, yeah.
I mean, like culturally, like Canada, we our favorite restaurant as a nation apparently is Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
Which still has my favorite breakfast sandwich. Because
Tim Hortons?
Yeah, that thing gets into your stomach and it soaks up all the alcohol so quickly.
It's a very spongy egg, so yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense that
Yeah.
it's there. I'll say this defense too for Tim Hortons. I might have brought this up in another interview, but there's a Tim Hortons here in my neighborhood.
Right.
My neighborhood is very not geared toward chain restaurants. There's a Subway over here, which is weird too.
Yeah.
And what I'll say about both those places is you do not see a lot of hipsters around here. You do not see the hipsters in the Subway. You do not see the hipsters in the Tim Hortons.
Right.
But they're full and they're busy, and those people are coming from around here as well, because it's not like there's not other ones of those around.
Right.
So I think those spaces are actually valuable to have, as much as people hate corporate culture.
Yeah.
If you go to the Tim Hortons, like you will see so many different people. You'll hear so many different languages being spoken.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a place people can go and they hang out and they're there for a long time, and they are not going to the hipster coffee shop. They're going there for whatever reason.
Yep.
It's just easier to go there probably. There's a little more room. You can sit there longer and it's not pretentious. So I do think those places can be kind of valuable, as much as people might sneer at Tim Hortons. It's like, if you're in a small town, my small town, that's where you get coffee still. And if you're around here, that's where a lot of people feel most comfortable and they want to hang out. So I think those bland corporate spaces, I think interestingly do have a place.
And you and I both have mutual friends who are musicians that like to do their work in coffee shops. And I know Graham used to always say like he likes to get his work done in Starbucks because he doesn't want to work in a hipster coffee shop because it's too distracting.
Me too. Anytime I have to do work around coffee, I go to a Starbucks.
Yeah.
Because
anywhere else, I feel like I'm going to recognize somebody or I'm going to learn something from like eavesdropping. And
and also just like when I'm like, there's one here in the neighborhood, the hipster coffee shop is like, if I'm in there, I feel out of place because I'm like, I didn't dress up for this. Like, I don't look cool.
Yeah.
I honest to God, I needed a coffee.
Yeah.
So I love the coffee there. That's not where I go most often in the neighborhood for coffee. If I'm wearing a shirt that I like, I'm wearing a shirt that I like today, I'd go in wearing this shirt, but my normal attire probably wouldn't. Definitely wouldn't sit around.
Yeah.
But if I was dressed nicely, if I had my MacBook with me and some earbuds, and I could make it look like I had legitimate work to do on that, then I'd go.
Yeah. It has to be an occasion, and that's
not, that's it. It's an occasion. It's a night out.
That's not right. That's just go to the coffee shop and get your work done so you can feel a little closer to humanity, but in your own little aquarium.
But you know what? The same way there's a place for these corporate spaces.
Yeah.
I think there's a place for the hipster spaces too. They serve a function. The coffee is really good there.
Yeah.
And people, maybe you're just going to be seen, or maybe you just are very comfortable in that kind of space too. That's fine. Yeah. I like that it's there, but yeah, I feel like I just like to try and keep in mind that while we don't love having chain places around, especially in this neighborhood, people are going there.
Yeah, we have a thing in my apartment. It's, are we having good coffee or are we having bad coffee today? And if we're having good coffee, it's a nice locally roasted, like smooth, like silky, kind of dark, like hints of hazelnut kind of blend that we bought from the bakery up the street that makes amazing bagels. Yeah. If we really need to wake up because there's something that requires our immediate attention, we're having bad coffee. We're having the Starbucks house blend,
you just
ground
need
up from the grocery store. Yeah, just a big old bucket of Folgers or something, and you're scooping it in there. Like, we might as well be drinking instant coffee.
Yeah.
And I remember I was on a road trip with my friend Bruce to Minneapolis last summer, and on the way back, I was a little bit fatigued. It's a 7-hour drive for those who haven't done it. And I spent so much time looking for a Subway on the way home because I was like, I will be awake for the remainder of the drive home if we can just get me one little thermos of Subway coffee. Yeah. Because Subway Sandwiches has the worst coffee I've ever had in my life. And not only is it the worst coffee, they make it first thing in the morning, and nobody gets coffee from Subway.
Yeah.
So it sits out there all day, and it sits out there in this barely washed canteen, and it's everything that you hate about coffee, about bad coffee, sitting in one canteen. And basically I go in there, if I need to drive a long distance, I'm stopping at Subway, I'm filling it up with this coffee, my thermos up with this coffee, and I am the whole drive home, I am pulling faces in the mirrors.
It keeps you awake though.
Oh, it keeps you awake because your body is like, this shouldn't be in me. Like,
bad coffee to me, it's because it's not comforting. Good coffee is comforting.
It's too comforting.
I am a gas station coffee person. As soon as I'm out of town, a gas station coffee. Every now and then you pick up a nice one, but if I just got to stay awake, big thermos, Subway or gas station. Tim Hortons is almost even too smooth at that point.
It's a little too smooth because unfortunately the double exists. We have an order that we know will smooth out the coffee perfectly. Like,
I barely want coffee.
Yeah, I barely want coffee. I'll get a double. That will smooth out the experience, and I won't experience the little nasty aftertaste you get from black Tim Hortons coffee. That's why I get my iced coffee black there.
Yeah.
Everyone looks at me like I'm crazy, which I don't understand. But black iced coffee from Tim Hortons genuinely makes me like my shoulders like shake as I drink it because of just how disgusted I am by it. But I'm like, thank you so much for this bitter little smack of flavor that you've hit my face with. I'm going to be able to like function for the next like 3 hours because of it. Because all I'm going to think about was how put off I was by the experience.
You could push through.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
that. Oh, all right, Matt. I think it's time for us to write a song.
I think it is.
Let's do it.
Do I start over fresh? Do I play something I've never played before?
Yeah.
You are going to find that I'm the most frustrating person in the world to write a song. You can keep that on the show.
Why is that?
I have a hard time committing. First of all, anybody who's thinking about doing this show, Andy did teach me to play bass in a month. So I'm just saying, in terms of his creative midwifery, I'd say you're good to work with this guy.
I find keep it simple. I like starting on C. Good chord.
I think the rain outside is kind of dictating that. That coffee keep me on. I got a lot of things that get lost in the private hours. A distant rain showers.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I really like that. I just want to.
Can I write some things down, I guess?
Yeah.
Here I have a Shotgun Jimmy. We talked about the appeal of driving late at night, which I think you understand very much as well.
Oh, I love it.
The privacy of the hour. So I want to write something like that down.
Oh, yeah. That's a good place to start. That's very nice.
How it works can be something.
Well, it could be that how it works. Like, just desserts, like how it works. Maybe because you're drinking the coffee.
Yeah.
You're drinking that coffee to feel something. So it's working. It's working to. You almost like you're punishing yourself. You did something wrong. You're in this situation.
Yeah.
You're drinking the bad coffee as a punishment. Yeah.
Leave a ring around the headlights. Leave a stain on.
I think this might be nice to just record your part live.
Yeah, just make it up as I go.
No. I mean, when we have it down, what we want, but I mean, just your guitar and your voice. If we do it at the same time.
Yeah. I only hang my head at home.
How about I only drink this shit at home?
Yeah. Yes. Only drink this shit. Oh my God! Yes.
That could be the whole line of the song.
You need that though.
Yeah.
You need to let the air out at some point, because what we're basically describing is like I embarrassed myself at a fucking party or something by running my mouth too much, and then just like I only drink this shit. Whenever you're ready, I guess.
coffee, come keep me up. I sit and plot a lifetime of thoughts in the private hours and distant rain showers. Bad coffee keep me alert. I taste the bitterness of just desserts. This is how it works when you get on your own nerves. It leaves a ring around the headlines, a rustic stain on a moment of time. And you know, I only drink the shit at home. Rap blends for mixed company. Wish all my friends were here with me. Oh, what could I say? Make them all go away. Am I, are they the ones who have to hide? A cracked ceramic with a spoon inside. And you know, I only drink the shit at home. Yeah, you know, I only drink the shit alone.
There it is, Bad Coffee with Matt Moskal. He's on. Follow him on Instagram at Mr. Matt Moskal, MrMattMoskal. I believe any coffee drinker can relate to that song, because if you love good coffee, then you know bad coffee, and you know those times when you just feel so brutal that the bad stuff might be what you need in that situation. It was almost unsettling, too, how quickly that song came about. We were just hitting chords, Matt started singing, and I'd say 80% of the first words out of his mouth ended up as lyrics in the song. It was just real fast. It was a nice atmosphere, too. It was a warm July day. It was pouring rain, crazy storm. And when we were done, we went out for some day drinking after that at the Goodwill Social Club here in Winnipeg. And I think Matt went to karaoke later that night too. So thank you for joining me for track 1 of Let's Write a Song. Again, I'm Andy Cole, your host. We'll be back next week with a brand new guest and a brand new song. Please follow us on Instagram at Hey Let's Write a Song. That's the one social media platform I can stand to spend time on these days. We're on Facebook too. You can find us there. Let's Write a Song Podcast. Search that. You'll find it. Twitter at Write a Song Pod. We're out there. We're findable. Thank you for finding us. Have a great week. I will see you back here next time. Let's write a song.